So the work is called In the Precious Garden, Reading of a Silence Wisdom. For this show, they just use the short title, In the Precious Garden. It's actually my master's thesis that I did when I was doing my master's in electronic art at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, Troy, New York, in 1993. It was accompanied by a written thesis called Aesthetic Expression of Tawhid. So personally, it was inspired by her birth. It was her birth. So Chu was accompanied by Mak Chu. Mak Chu came with Chu when I was in the US. So she gave birth to her, to Adila. So personally, it was inspired by her birth. Academically, it was part of my research. I researched on cosmology, research on geometry, infinity, on Islamic Sufism. Okay, so my idea was to create a meditative installation space where we can meditate upon the oneness of creation. So I use the language of geometry because language of geometry has been used in many different cosmologies all around the world, from different religious traditions, different spiritual traditions as well. So I like to play with the time and space, especially when it comes to video. For this one, I use what it is called fraction. So you can see this big clause is actually what I call text poem. That text poem was actually based on the writings of Sheikh Qadir Al-Jilani, Sufi guru. Also from Rumi, Liu Aiming from Al-Ghazali. Also some from the Quran. So I wrote this text poem. Instead of writing it in a normal paper, I wrote it in a spiraling fashion. So you start from read in the face of this garden, then you go on and on. But definitely you can't read the whole thing. Okay, the idea is you're going to give up. Yeah. So it's very difficult to stay on the path, and you can't really experience infinity. Anyway, so what I do is this text poem was then repeated 12 times. Okay, it becomes this 12 circle. Then again repeated and repeated. That's fractal. Until this whole thing becomes just a dot. So that idea theoretically can go on and on until it can go microscopically. And this thing can also be a part of something larger. So that's infinity. So infinity relates to the idea of greatness of God. God represents infinite compassion and love. So when she was born, when she was born, I felt immersed in infinite love. Everything disappeared, dissolved. Even I disappeared, and I felt like I was immersed in the infinite ocean of love. So as you know, infinity, if you ask mathematician, infinity is there. But you cannot see infinity, you cannot experience infinity, you cannot grasp infinity. Because there's no beginning, no ending. So those are the attributes of God. And we belong to infinity, our soul. So that's the idea. That's the idea. The video was actually a translation of this. So I created a 1-hour video, and it is displayed on the square. 3 monitors. You see the square? And then on the smaller circle, that is a compressed version of 1 hour. So it's a 5 minutes compressed version, repeated 12 times. It's the same fractal. And then even smaller circle is a 25-second compressed version of the 5 minutes. Okay? So I can compress it if I want to, theoretically. So until the 1 hour video will become like a flash, like that. But I made it in an orbiting way to suggest everything moves in a cycle according to the rule of nature that governs all the natural phenomena. So all of us are interconnected by this law of nature. You can obey or you can disobey, but if you obey the law of nature, you will become a good citizen of the world. We are all binded by that, interconnected by that law. Fitrah. Thank you very much.
But you say that you inspired by